headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Well, we had President Zelensky of Ukraine speaking to the European Parliament yesterday. He's pleaded to join the EU, written a formal letter. He's also crucially asking them to help stop genocide, which is, what is going to be happening, already happening in Ukraine, and for enforcement of this no-fly zone. Now, Boris Johnson, when he was challenged by a Ukrainian journalist activist on his trip to Eastern Europe yesterday, said, look, basically, I'm going to be honest with you, we're not going to enforce a no-fly zone. Again and again, international leaders have said they will not send forces into Ukraine. They will protect NATO countries, but not Ukraine itself, because of the risk of basically having a direct confrontation with Russia and, starting goodness knows what, leading to World War III. Do you think that's the right decision not to enforce a no-fly zone? And without a no-fly zone, to protect Ukrainian forces on the ground, is it conceivable that Ukrainians can win this war?
I think they can win, but they probably won't win by a direct military method. I mean, they're winning the moral victory, and I know that's an easy thing to say. It goes back to your point about kind of waving blue and yellow flags. In terms of the military campaign, again, we look at how the Russians have got themselves bogged down. The information we're getting there about things like the sort of poor morale amongst Russian soldiers. And, you just hope against hope that somewhere in the hierarchy of the Russian military, there is some kind of recognition that what they're doing is wrong. So I think that might help, that in terms of what that's going to do. In terms of the military posture, what the West could do militarily, I fear that Boris Johnson is correct. And I also make the point that because this is both a land and an air campaign, it's not just enough to have a no-fly zone. A no-fly zone will do nothing against, for example, rocket or artillery fire, because that's not, you're going to have what we had in Afghanistan towards the end, where we had superior Allied air power flying over the top of Taliban, attacking Afghan army positions. So we should be very clear that if you try to move to a stage where you decide to actually do something militarily, you're either all in or you're not. And that does mean direct confrontation with the Russian forces. If we decide that's what we need to do, then we need to start talking to our people very honestly and saying that is the price of what we were talking about. I could understand that price being paid. It would hurt everybody, but that would be the recognition of what we're doing. There are no easy military options for the West to undertake. You're either in or you're not.
I mean, that's the thing, though, isn't it? The question for a lot of people will be, is this really our war? Is this our problem? Well, never been to Ukraine. It looks terrible. I'm very sad, but fundamentally not our problem. And a lot of people will be taking that attitude. And we see that a lot of the Middle Eastern wars as well, and events happening in Africa as well. People say, not my problem. There is also the very big school of thought, people, I think rather more realistic, which is that it's going to become our problem pretty soon if Russia does take Ukraine. I mean, we saw the bizarre situation of Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko standing in front of a battle map, appearing to show that the Russian troops' next plan is to march into Moldova. He marched into Georgia before. Crimea, it's not going to stop there. The Baltic states are very worried. Poland. Do we genuinely believe that Vladimir Putin will stop short of invading any of the Baltic states? And are we genuinely sure that NATO will act? We're not going to act for Ukraine because we're not legally obliged to. Will we necessarily go to war for Estonia? And the reality is, for a lot of people, feel that we either act now or we're going to be acting later. But is there an argument for acting later simply because we are, frankly, in the West, not ready for war?
I think that's not an unreasonable position. I know there's been very interesting debate recently again about the lessons of history. The excellent film Munich that just come out talks about the debate that ran around within the British government and elsewhere about when was the right time to confront Hitler. And the history books for a long time condemned those who effectively kind of bought peace at a price. And that will always be the argument against what we're doing here in Ukraine. But there is something about basically realizing what you can do at the moment and actually then ensuring that you're prepared properly for the following. I'll make one other point if I may about if you like, a personal relationship with Kiev. You rightly highlighted my time in Kabul, but I actually worked in Kiev in 2006. I was working with the Ukrainian Armed Forces on one of their reform programs. So for me, this is really personal.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of friends in the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and for me, it's really personal what's going on. This is our war. How we fight it, though, is the challenge.
Colonel Simon Diggins, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.